My name is Kalpanee. I'm 33. I have a couple of small businesses. I'm also a model. That's about it.
My name is Kasun and I'm 30 years old. My profession is I'm a designer, clothing designer, and in the past 1.5 years I've also started teaching as a visiting lecturer. That's something I also want to make a part of my career, and mainly I work in our father's family business now.
I'm heterosexual, cisgendered female.
Very technical. I would say this concept is called being human. So today's interview, I am going to refer to myself as being human and accepting that. But in terms of my gender expression, I would say I'm fluid, and it's a process that has happened throughout from the time I was born. My gender expression and my gender identity has shifted, and now it's much more fluid, it's more holistic. The person I am changes, or the gender of mine changes according to situation. It's a very fluid, transparent process, but it depends on whom I interact with. I always didn't find a problem in me or within me. I was a very confident kid. Maybe I lived in my own world, but my life was almost flowers and rainbows till I went to middle school. I went to a Catholic school, all boys, and over there was the nightmare began. Because even when I was bullied, I don't think I was bullied for my sexuality. I was bullied for my gender expression, for being weaker in their eyes or vulnerable, and also not having many of us together just the way they had groups of people. The teachers, sisters, they were also very strict. It's a Catholic school, so there was no place where I could learn about my rights so that I don't get bullied. Since there was this one guy, every day when I would come to our corridor to go to class, he would pull me from my bag all the way back and then spin me. So I would basically get pulled and thrown to the ground. And I hated getting my clothes dirty, and that pissed me off even more. Like, this is my uniform, don't do that. And then, you can't do this to me. And it was making me so helpless to feel and not be able to. School was not my favorite place. I could not walk down a corridor without a name being called, and my self-esteem was so low that I started looking only down when I walked, so that no one sees me, or I don't make eye contact with anyone, because my idea was, if I do, it's going to provoke someone to say something or do something. I would tell, if parents are listening, you need to listen to your children, to their feelings, because we don't know what's happening. And the problem is, most of the time, children don't know that they're being abused, because they don't know the word abused or like what it is like, and the vast array of possibilities of how one can be abused. For me, it was mostly mental and then physical when they would throw me around. There was a time when we are eating, these bunch of boys every day would drag us out of the room and lock us behind a door and press the door against us so that we couldn't get out. And they got such a thrill and excitement out of locking these two people, right? Even the person who used to push me down, a child could die. I could break my hand, I could break my leg, could hit my head. And that hurt me more, that you're not even seeing me as human enough to make sure that your bullying is at least keep it to a human, like I'm not to my friends and family. So I came out to my friends when I went to uni, because right after school I took a gap year and worked on my portfolio, and that was also the time that I was deciding whether I want to do fashion design or not. It was 11 years ago. The world was so different. Boys wearing pink was a big deal. Now boys are wearing. Felt was that I felt helpless because there was no one to help. There was no system in school that protected children in any way. And you start to latch on to your emotions, and I'm still an emotional person. I get very angry. It's because they have been piling more and more and more anger that I didn't know how to deal with. I thought I had to keep it because there was nothing I can do to relax. And it made me depressed clinically. I had rage issues, and it even caused bipolar disorder in me, where I would go into extreme heights of emotions. Although I said that I have forgiven and it really doesn't matter, I don't even remember some of their faces, the triggers are still starting to see less and less of negative responses. I actually haven't had any negative responses. Yeah, and I think that is something to do with that. Like I said, it's very holistic. When you are confident and when you know what you're doing, and when you know what you're doing, you're not aware of it at all. It just happens. It's you. It's an experience. You're a human expression, and if it's solid, then I don't think it matters to people. They will look if you're different. We would look if someone's different. But that looking is not the same as a looking when you want to look someone down or say something hurt.
I think structural support goes a long way. So again, like nuclear family, our father and our mother are, very fiercely protective, I think. And also, like, even if let's say there was something, we would never know. It almost to that extent, I think we would have been protected as well. So I mean, on a fair basis, yes, you're very privileged, I'm very privileged, all of that is there. But at the same time, I think it wasn't only, something internal. I think externally also there are support structures that help. Just like, there are systematic structures that don't help you, like what you said about in schools, for any form of bullying, even, there's still no proper, addressing of that situation. So even like, because the point of this interview is for people who are listening, right? Because I wouldn't want it to be, yes, there are people who get the support. I wouldn't want it being, purely being put down to an internal exercise or purely being the weight being on an external exercise. I think it's the combination of the two really helps you make headway. But regardless of it, if you don't have the internal mechanisms to support yourself, I think there are systems where you can reach out to. But more than anything, I think what's important is that whether it's institutional or otherwise, I think those external structures really help you, whether it's your friends saying we understand or we gave you the time to explore yourself and understand. So I think for me, especially as someone who's doing my very best to be an ally in your journey, is that I wish there was more education for allies, so that we can support change, so that we can make sure, that nobody, like, the story, your story, I wouldn't want it on anyone else, like, obviously I've known about, most of this. I don't know if I know everything, I don't think I know everything. I wouldn't want it happening, I don't want it happening to my brother, but I don't want it happening to anybody else. I don't want it happening to a friend of mine. I have many friends who's told me, such harrowing, traumatic details. So, and even then, privilege alone doesn't protect you. So I know friends who come from very privileged backgrounds with sometimes extremely supportive structures even within the family unit, and yet externally, they face hardship. So education, I think, is key, and external education, in the sense the people who surround you. the series is being human, right? So it's humanity, right? Everybody deserves the chance to make the best life that they can with the tools at their disposal. And there shouldn't be systematic issues, systematic structures which are getting reinforced that prevent a human being from having a life that we would all aspire to, one of happiness and as you say, you just want to be, right? That's all you want, right? No.
You want to experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's just be a human being. No. Why he was in school, I didn't know, because another reason was also, it's not an excuse, but I was 5 years academically separate from him, even though we are 3 years apart. And I was in a different country, I think. By the time he was 12, 13, I was in England. I was abroad. So that's why I said we developed, yes, we may have developed in the same direction as human beings, but we developed separately. So I didn't know the day-to-day functions of what happened. He didn't know, I don't think he knows, like, even my issues, which are very small compared to, what he went through. But still, like, I don't think that exchange took place. And also technology-wise, like, we didn't have, like, those days I used to have to get to, like, buy a calling card to even call home. There was no WhatsApp, Skype. Skype came, I think, when I was in school, maybe towards the end of the year. Skype, no WhatsApp. I thought it was Messenger, but I assumed it was Hi-Fi. Something around those lines. So technology wasn't there, so I didn't know. It's not an excuse. Again, like, if I were to look back at my life and ask what I could have done differently, it's that, again, I wish I had those tools to understand what he was going through. I wish I could have, regardless of other issues that were surrounding us, that I could have reached out to you, been a better ally and supported you for you to achieve the life that you have right now.
And I was very quiet, and I was trying to understand now, how am I going to be somebody in a very heteronormative industry. My father owns a business that retails construction material, building material, hardware. So I'm always working with construction workers, drivers, and all sorts of people. Our showrooms are open there. There are beggars coming every day, and that person, the only thing they want is something to eat, and they don't care what I'm wearing. It doesn't matter to them how I'm sitting or who I am. They are asking human to human if they could be helped, and if they can see me as human when they're starving, and I could see that they're starving, there's a level that I think we can connect with people before we get into what are they wearing. Because if you take this coronavirus, it almost became communism where everyone was equal, and if your boss was an LGBTQ member and is paying you, you should really be grateful and, like, change your ways if you had any issue, because that's a human helping another human. Even with the environment and the people I work with, that was not my experience. My experience was in the fashion industry and studying abroad, completely different world. And what I did was I started connecting with people by talking to them. I'm a very social person. I wasn't when I was small. When I was bullied, I became an introvert. My head was down. I looked awkward. But till now, the thought of walking into that school gives me nightmares. I don't think I could go through with it. And it was like that even in society for a very long time. I was afraid of kids. I was afraid of teenagers. I thought if I had to walk through a bunch of teenagers, they would do the same thing. And so I avoided many experiences and connections that I could have had. But now, when I started working, it all changed. Now I am meeting people from our society, and I'm no longer afraid of what they're going to say to me or do to me, because I'm more interested in how can I service you at my business. at first, yes, the trauma and the triggers were there. I was scared, but then I realized it's just something that I have also built. I have built what's the word for it? Preconceived notions. And I was judging people that this person is going to be like this to me and this person is going to be like that to me. And that was very unfair from my side. I shouldn't have done that either. Right? They were judging me, I was judging them. But the minute I stopped that, I think things changed, and now I enjoy working in the business environment so much. I love the people I work with, and they're very fond of me, and I'm equal to all of them. I make sure that everyone's eaten, I make sure that everyone gets home, and these are the things that people appreciate. And that's how a business or a work relationship is built, when you care for each other. Yes, you are doing some work for me, but I care for you as well. Then they see you for that, and I think every human should be seen for that, for how they are being human. Yes, so that will be my working experience, and even teaching. Again, I said I was scared I was afraid of children. But now I teach 15, 16-year-olds, and it was nerve-wracking at first, the first day, but now I've connected with them and I've understood that their lives are so much different how it was 15 years ago for us. Now they know, they have education, and I'm very happy to say that that generation is going to have a nicer life. They're going to have more peace. What advice I would give to someone in the closet? First of all, I won't go back in the closet. Only time I do is when I want to pick out an outfit, because I have an actual closet. So do you. But no, I love life. I love life, and I love people now. I'm not afraid of people. I want to love people and connect with them. Yes, there will be one or two persons here and there who won't be on the same page, and that's all right. I mean, everyone's marginalized somewhere, no? Whether it's gender or color or money or just a structure in an office, anything. Within friend groups, who has more money and who doesn't. Everyone's marginalized somewhere. So you can't change that. We're changing 9 billion people, then that's not possible. You have 80 years, 70 years to live. For the kids or whoever's in the closet, I can only talk about it in my experience, because like my sister said, I had or being forced to get married. Those were never problems. But I know people out there is going through, no matter how privileged they are or how wealthy they are, their parents might still expect them to get married. I would say find your resources. Always gather your resources. Who is out there to advise me? Who will help me? Keep those together, and then slowly use your resources and go and talk to resourceful people. Talk to people who has education. Don't be afraid. Times are different now. Everyone's open to having a conversation or helping. Like, if you see me somewhere and if you have the need to talk to me, if you want to talk to me, just come over and talk to me. I'll do what I can.
I honestly don't think from my position that it's fair to answer that, because I truly cannot claim to understand what, even my brother, as I said, like, I can't claim to understand what he goes through or what his trauma is. I can only try. So if anything, I'll restructure that. And as I said earlier, I think if you want to be an ally, if you are a sibling of and you see your sibling struggling, you see your friends struggling, educate yourself. Be the support system. Learn every day, or find the resources, because there's plenty, even like for an ally, there's plenty of resources out there that you can read, you can talk to people, talk to a person from an LGBTIQ community. make that effort, because it shouldn't be coming the other way around. It should never be, even the structuring of coming out to, family, because the onus is put on somebody who's already struggling. It should be the other way around. I think we should, if anything, as I said again, there should be a situation either where you don't even have to acknowledge it at all, or where you as an ally from the other side say, hey, we support you, great, human being, whoever you choose to love or whoever you choose to be with, whatever you choose to do with life, however you want to express yourself, that we support you. So I think, if anything, allies should look up resources and educate themselves and be the support for the change and ensure that you carry it forward. Because we hold a lot of privilege as an ally. Being heterosexual, you hold a lot of privilege, a lot of things. Even yesterday, it was very clearly told to me, as a heterosexual person, I have many privileges, even, compared to my sibling, even though we've had the same background growing up, right? Even within the family structure, I may have a privilege that he doesn't. So it needs to be acknowledged.
Support equality.